Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from anthonymorganti.com, and this is episode 142 of Photo Critiques. And in this episode, I'm pleased to critique the work of John Strongitharm. John sent me in some interesting shots. This first one of this moth is really nice. Love the color. I like the composition. He got all the moth in. Remember I mentioned before, if you're photographing insects, you tend to want, I've seen a lot of people, they photograph these macros of butterflies and moths and things, and they'll cut off the antenna or cut off a wing. You usually never want to do that. You want to get the entire insect in the shot. John did a great job here. John did all this too with a point and shoot camera. All these shots, so they're really nice shots. The focus on here is tighter than I've ever seen a point and shoot do, so it's really well done. What kind of bad thing with the point and shoot cameras, they just have that little built-in flash, and the flash is kind of harsh. As you can see, we have some really strong shadows right here, and the highlights are kind of harsh too. Typically, if you were shooting this with a DSLR with a flash, you'd want to diffuse your flash somehow. You even put that little plastic thing that most flashes come with over the flash gun part of the flash, or you'd even if you're using a DSLR with a pop-up flash, you maybe put a coffee filter like that, with a rubber band, wrap it around the pop-up flash, and just throw a little light on the subject, and it would be pretty diffuse then, and it wouldn't have these harsh highlights. It's a cool shot, got the color, splash of color here, and we have the hill in the background. Minimize the sky, which didn't look overly interesting. We did have a little problem. I think, see how it's bleeding up a little black here? It's just tiny bit over processed. You can see that little kind of black bleed that's coming out of there. Typically, you could get rid of that if you back down your clarity a little bit and your contrast just a touch. Usually would get rid of that. This is an interesting scene, and this is where I come down to, as I usually say, is work the scene. I got a feeling there might be another interesting shot lurking in this scene somewhere if you just could work it and get it from different angles and different times of day with different light and see what you could come up with. There's a really cool shot here. We have this kind of real warm colors down here, and of course the cool sky, and then we got this steam and very interesting hillside. This is a really nice composition. I like this a lot. The only other thing I might add, I says if you could add a vignette, it's my own personal style, but you'll see a lot of photographs that have these vignettes, and it just helps draw your attention towards the middle, and it helps shots like this that don't really have a distinctive subject. Like there's not, something in the water or something flying across or anything like that. There's not a real distinctive subject in this shot. So it helps, the vignette helps keep the user looking towards the middle of the shot. So there's before and there's after. So you be the judge. If it's not your style, don't use it, but I suggest you try it. This is just a fun shot to take. Comfort station, and it's got a neat color and the snow, so it's just a fun shot to take. This is a really nice shot, point and shoot again. The eyes are a tiny bit soft, just a tiny bit soft, but with the point and shoot you don't have much choice. You can see down here, which is in front of the eyes, it's a lot better, it has a lot better focus on it. The only other small thing, I like the colors, I like the processing a lot, is just the tip of his head is cut off, and we have too much probably of the body. So I think if you just pulled your camera up just a little bit and got like all of his beard in the shot, and then you would get all of the head too, and I think it would be a stronger image. This is a kind of a busy scene, even though it's just water, but it's got a lot of little elements to it. So all these blurred water, which did a really nice job at 2.5 seconds, f of 6.3, but it's kind of hard to go by. Like I mentioned, point and shoots, mentioned in previous critiques, these numbers kind of look weird, so it's hard to relate to what a DSLR will do. But the processing is nice. We've got some nice color back here. This is another one, if you could work the scene. I'm wondering what's to the right. As I look at the scene, my eyes keep wanting to look and see what's over here. So I want to see what's to the right. So that tells me it's not totally balanced. The scene's not balanced. And I actually, looking at it, I can't tell you what it is. I can't say, well, this is out of place and this shouldn't be in. It just seems like I said, I keep wanting to look over here. So maybe work the scene. Maybe this would have been a good panorama type shot. Shooting across, something like that. It's a cool shot. This is kind of the typical thing, we do on these long, lonely highways and get a shot like this. The only suggestion I can make, you did a nice job with the processing. Have some processing. We have some beautiful color and we have great sky. Is I would get lower. We're kind of shooting down a little bit and we're, seeing this. But usually these shots are more compelling the lower you get. So you get really low and we could see some really tiny pebbles here and then we see these humongous clouds up here. So if you could get lower on these shots and try it, I think you'd find that they're more compelling. This is a kind of a cool processing on this shot, cool shot. We have kind of a bright spot here, right towards the middle of the frame. So it kind of, Union Pacific, as we could see that, and the graffiti kind of glows. So it's kind of a neat shot. We've got a cool sky in the background. We still have this kind of problem with this bleeding, of the dark, and we have this kind of glow around the cars. So, if that's the effect you wanted, that's fine. But if not, be careful because that's your processing and you might not want that. So in some images. So get used to trying to get it to, when you process, be aware of this kind of glow and this bleed you get when it's slightly over processed. And that's it for John. One thing I should mention too, back on this, the processing, it's a point and shoot camera too, so it's not as diligent when it records the image. It's not as it's making a JPEG, so it's not as refined, I'll use the word, as a DSLR shooting raw, and you'd have a better chance of avoiding this glow and this bleed if you use a DSLR that's shooting raw. So that's something to keep in mind too. Now that's really it now for this set of pictures. Thank you, John, for sharing them with us. I really do appreciate it. And thank you everyone for watching all my videos. I really do appreciate it. Thank you very much.